This is never over. The journey has no port. The adventure never ends because we are always on the way.
Understanding the controls and other settings in Red Dead Redemption 2. If you're like me, I could not wait to get to Chapter 2, and as soon as this chapter was unlocked, nothing could hold me back from exploring the ever-expanding wilderness. It was not till some time later that I began to feel like the controls were somehow lacking. Overall, I felt a sluggishness that was not natural to the shooter games I have played. Let's face it, the controls in Red Dead Redemption 2 can be quite confusing, leaving many a player asking, what is the best control setting for Red Dead Redemption 2? The goal of this video is to give you an in-depth understanding of how each setting works and how to get the most out of shooting in Red Dead Redemption 2. A side note that I should mention here is that we are all waiting for the online version of Red Dead Redemption 2 to be released by Rockstar any day now. And while there are several guides you can find to help you hone the controls to something that suits you, I can say that I have looked into each of these guides and found that they are either lacking an explanation as to what each setting means, or were downright misleading, giving you the exact opposite of what you need to have for a smooth and consistent feeling. Most of the guides I found left my controls feeling worse than the default settings, being slow one moment to uncontrollably fast the next. Overall, these guides left free aim to be difficult, if not next to impossible. As always with any guide video, it is best to consider the advice within and test to see if it works for you. As we all know with shooter games, changing the control settings is a dreaded thought. Most of us believe it is far better to stick with what we currently have than to change to a setting that might end up being worse. Our advice to you is to write down your current control settings before making any of the adjustments we'll be covering throughout this guide. With all this covered, let's jump right into it. Under targeting, we find 4 control settings, both lock-on modes for on foot and while mounted, as well as the sensitivity for each of these settings. The settings for on foot and on a mount work exactly the same, allowing the player to adjust each to their playing style. With on foot or on mount, you will find there are 4 different settings within. We will explain them in this order: free aim, wide, narrow, and normal. Free aim. Free aim means exactly what it says. While aiming your weapon, you will never auto-lock onto a target, giving you the freedom to aim as you please. Wide. Wide means you can have the crosshair quite a distance away from a target, and upon aiming the crosshair, you will auto-snap to a target. As you can see here, the crosshair can be quite a distance away, and the auto-lock will still work. Narrow. Narrow means that the crosshair will need to be almost right beside a target for the auto-lock to work upon aiming. Normal. Normal cuts wide and narrow right in half, and seems to be the best setting overall, as this will allow you to have freedom in selecting a target and know that when you aim, the auto lock will go to the intended target. For more authentic gameplay, we advise you turn this setting to free aim. If you're not quite ready to go full John Wayne, select narrow to up the ante but still have some assistance. For those still picking themselves up by their bootstraps after every shootout, we advise you set this to wide. With this setting in place, you will always shoot something when aiming. Aim Assist Strength. This setting affects how the crosshair reacts while you are shooting. With a high setting, little to no adjustment will need to be made, as the crosshair will quickly auto-snap back to the target after each shot, while with a lesser setting, the player will need to make fine adjustments after every shot, and will find that the recoil of weapons plays a larger role while shooting. There is a total strength of 4 for both on foot and while mounted. We found that a setting of 2 seems to be the best for the player that wants some assistance but still have a realistic feeling while shooting. Again, all of the settings we have discussed so far work exactly the same both on foot and while mounted. The only thing that we would add here is for those who find it hard shooting while on horseback, go ahead and set the aim assist mode to wide with max assistance. Now on to third person. There is a total of 6 settings here, and we will cover them in the order they are displayed. Third person controls. This setting changes the controller layout. Not much to be covered here, as this has more to do with individual preference. Horse control. Horse control has 2 settings, camera relative and horse relative. Camera relative is by far the best setting. This setting will allow you to turn your horse with the camera following shortly after to face in the direction the horse is running, while horse relative requires you to first look in the direction you wish to go and then follow up with the left analog. We do not advise using horse relative, as this seems to be a difficult way to get more advanced movement and leaves making a 180-degree turn out of the question, as your horse will simply run around in circles. We should also add here, for those who do not like the camera auto-snapping back to the direction of travel, to head over to the camera settings and change the camera follow level to either low or off. Each of these settings will in effect change the amount of time it takes for the camera to snap back to the direction the horse is traveling in. Now, on to the good stuff. Look sensitivity. With a total of 14 levels, look sensitivity controls how slow or how fast the camera moves whilst not aiming. A setting of 7, exactly half, seems to be the best setting overall. A player will need to take this setting into consideration, most especially if the lock-on mode is set to free aim. For a quick but less accurate look to aim, we advise a setting 1 to 2 above 7, while for a slower but more accurate look to aim, go for a setting 1 to 2 below 7. Aim sensitivity. Like look sensitivity, aim sensitivity has a total of 14 levels and adjusts how slow or fast the crosshair moves while aiming your weapon. Ultimately, you will want this setting to be somewhere between 5 to 9 for a smooth aiming feeling. Anything below 5 and you will find aiming to be sluggish, while on the opposite end of the spectrum, having the setting too high will leave you struggling to move the crosshair to a target without under or overshooting where you want to aim. We advise you stay within this range to get the most out of shooting in Red Dead Redemption 2. Aim Look Acceleration. If ever there was a confusing setting in a shooter game, this setting would take the 4H grand prize. The Aim Look Acceleration controls how slow or fast it takes for the crosshair to reach the maximum speed, the speed that is set in aim sensitivity. Both this setting and dead zone work in tandem with the aim sensitivity. It can have a dynamic impact on how your crosshair moves over time. With a lower setting, the player will find that it takes quite some time before the crosshair moves at its maximum speed. This leaves the crosshair going from slow to fast and can upset the balance of a great shooter game. The odd thing we have found about this setting is that you cannot turn it off by lowering it all the way. In fact, it's just the opposite. Raising this setting to max will allow you to focus on the aim sensitivity, with the acceleration having no effect. But if you find the crosshair is still moving too fast, we advise lowering this to 12, as you will find more precise targeting with little to no impact of that slow to fast movement speed. Aim Look Dead Zone. Aim Look Dead Zone has a total of 10 levels, and like all of the dead zones in any game, this setting affects how much movement on the right analog stick needs to take place before the crosshair will move. Again, like Aim Look Acceleration, the dead zone works in tandem with the aim sensitivity. Though we have tested the dead zone both on max and off, it was strange to find that neither seemed to have any great impact on the movement of the crosshair. Some may want the dead zone to be maxed, but we advise you turn this off altogether for a more smooth and consistent shooting experience. All of the above settings work exactly the same for first person, and we advise that you copy these settings there. Follow this guide to adjust your settings as we have covered so far. If you still feel the crosshair is moving too fast, we advise you first adjust the aim look acceleration by moving it down to 13 or 12, and then adjust the aim sensitivity after doing so. Just remember that the aim look acceleration and aim sensitivity are connected to each other, and both affect how the crosshair will react. Ultimately, with this guide, I do believe that you now have a better understanding of what role each setting plays when it comes to aiming your weapon. First, adjust the look sensitivity to a setting speed that suits you. Then follow the advice for the other controls. Once adjusting your settings, do a manual save, head into the closest town, and go ham. Adjust the acceleration first, and then the aim sensitivity. Before we close out this guide, we also wanted to show you some of the other settings you might have missed. Head on over to the camera option and look for first person field of view. You can adjust the range of view here, and some players may find this setting to be helpful in achieving a more panoramic view while in first person. While there, you will also want to adjust the head bobbing to reduced, unless you like the feeling of walking on a trampoline. We also advise turning off the following three settings: camera follow level, first person auto level camera, and first person aim auto center. With these three set to off while in first person, the camera will never auto adjust while you are walking, running, or aiming your weapon. Lastly, near the bottom of the display settings, you will find the adjustments for the crosshair. Weapon Reticle has 3 settings: None, Simple, and Dot. For the most realistic shooting experience, turn the reticle to off and select Free Aim in the aim mode setting. You will also find the reticle dot size setting just below. Select either default or small. In closing, we have found that the above advised control settings are the most effective for a smooth and consistent aiming feeling. These settings will help you in every aspect of the game, be it hunting that perfect pelt or hide you have been riding all over the tundra in search of, to gunning down your enemies with the accuracy of the man with no name in Fistful of Dollars. I'm Nubs. Please don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. Take care.
Get 3 coffins ready.
Huh?
See, that's what I want to talk to you about. He's feeling real bad.
Huh?
My mule. You see, he got all riled up when you men fired those shots at his feet.
Hey, you making some kind of joke?
No. You see, I understand you men were just playing around, but the mule, he just doesn't get it. Of course, if you were to all apologize... I don't think it's nice, you laughing. You see, my mule don't like people laughing. It's the crazy idea you're laughing at him. Now, if you apologize like I know you're going to, I might convince him that you really didn't mean it. My mistake. 4 coffins.